Hello folks and welcome to today's Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton, as always joined by the head of sport in the Guardian, Shane Brophy. We're also going to have Denis Hurley, sports reporter based down in Cork, on the show as well to talk about the huge clash. Shane, are you excited? We've had a bit of time to take in that draw with Waterford. We've watched what Cork have done against Limerick, so should we be worried?
I wouldn't say worried. I'd say, how would you say, respectful. But there is, there's a shocking sense of pessimism down here. I don't know. We grew up, me and you, where Tipperary never faced down from a battle. And look, we know Cork were very, very impressive last weekend. But it's one thing we've known from this championship. I think for every team, I don't think any team has backed up one performance with another so far. And one team, Tip and Cork, are coming in the same way next weekend. Both are coming in off decent performances, but one of them's not going to get the result this weekend. So I think for whoever gets the result next weekend, it's going to be absolutely huge for them.
Yeah, and like from a Tipperary point of view, I'm sure you've watched back the Waterford game. I'm sure a lot of Tipperary supporters have. Do you see much of a different starting lineup coming this weekend? Obviously, we'll dive into Cork a bit more with Denis, but what do you think?
I don't. I suppose the only question would be Jason Ford, whether we'd start him or my thinking of it is, if you don't start him, you're bringing a guy off the bench that's low in confidence, and if it doesn't work out for you, it's too much a risk. So if you start him and it doesn't go well, at least you could take him off. So, but I think they'll go with him. Whether he's left on the freeze is another question. I bar Tipka a nearly easy free that maybe gets his confidence going, I would probably nearly leave them to. If there was a difficult one to start with, maybe long range, I give it to Garrod O'Connor or something like that. Because, but no, I think we'll go with the same again. I think it'll be interesting now if Dara Stakeland does enough, or whether the older brother Connor comes into consideration, because Connor played very, very well against Cork last year in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But Connor's missed an awful lot of game time recently.
Yeah, his last performance was against Clare in the league semi-final, and probably one of his quieter days. But just as you talk about the freeze there, I went over them. I pored over it since the league semi-final that I just mentioned against the Banner, and then the two Munster Championship games. So Tipperary's score and return for freeze back then. I mean, normally with freeze, what would you say is a good conversion rate for freeze, scoreable freeze?
It has to be minimum 90% at this level.
Okay, well, Tipperary's free conversion rate is 58% over the last three games. So you're looking there at 21 points from 36 attempts. So in games with fine margins, that's going to kill you. And when you also think that keeping yourself in a game, some teams go through rocky periods in games, and if you start missing free after free after free, it obviously saps your confidence. So I think that's a massive thing. And
some are difficult, because the last one Jason missed against Waterford out on the sideline, it was a difficult enough free, the angle and stuff, but it's the 65s he's missing from central positions are the worry. It's like you don't mind the odd difficult one, but it's the central ones that you really should be getting. They're the 65s from a central position. They've got to be going over 100% of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, his return in those games is 60%, 15 out of 25. So, that tallies with, for example, in the Banner game, there was 4 different lads taking frees. Garrod O'Connor took a few frees the last day when Ford went off. But 58% just isn't going to cut it. And the ones that are on the sideline, they're the ones that bring you down to 90% or maybe 85%. So it's an area that Tip very quickly have to go after. And it's very tangible one. Turn that around. And you know what the other thing is, right? You look at Tipperary, 0.58 points per attempt at 58%. Our opponents in the same games have 0.75. And if you actually include how Tipperary have fallen asleep and conceded goals from frees, which was Diarmaid Burns' mishit free, which ended up with Gallan scoring a goal, Tip switched off. You look at Stephen Bennett scoring a goal from the quick Desi Hutchinson free, switched off. That actually goes from 0.75 to 0.94 per attempt.
Yeah.
Now, you might say that's creative mathematics and all that kind of stuff, but it does tell you that Tipperary aren't getting the return that they should from their own frees, and to some degree are adding to what the opposition are doing, and that's stuff that's controllable. It should be controllable, Shane. And
sure, absolutely. But what is the word free? It's a free shot. You're under. You're not. Your nearest man is 13 yards away from you. Like, so they've got to be going over 95% of the time. And look, I think it's personally, I think it's too risky to leave Jason on them at this stage. I think when you have as good a free taker as Garrod O'Connor there as it was the backup last year, I think you've got to go with him, and maybe just allow Jason to focus on trying to play his own game. Just because, like, you know what, he is low on confidence. Like, he's too good. He's not. This is not what we've seen from him over the years. He's just, as I said last week, he's probably just a small bit of a crisis of confidence, and all it needs is a couple of good scores to go over. Like, he got one lovely point against Waterford from play. I'd say he was no more than a yard from getting another beauty in the second half, right out on the sideline. It was a very, it wasn't far away at all. Like, so it's that's, I don't know what you think in terms of, I know you asked me about changes. I don't foresee any Ford, and maybe Dara Stakelum, just in terms of, like, I'd say Dara might be safe, because I think Cahill really, really likes him, and I'd say he just wants to get more and more experience into him, and I'd say Dara might be safe enough. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say he'd be safe enough. I thought he did relatively well, actually, because he showed for the ball. The Clare game in the league semi-final didn't go for him at all, obviously enough, but he clearly has a bit of quality. He's very light yet, and he's going to probably turn into a machine and be just as good as his brother and all that kind of stuff. And he's a very good scorer and versatile. So I think he will hold on to his spot. I think, look, we both think Jason Ford is probably the best wrists in the county, but it's just not going for him at the moment. And I'd be of a mind that if you feel you have another player who is going well at the moment, I think sometimes it can serve as that sort of reset or rocket. If you get dropped, come in and you almost like have a cause and a chip on a shoulder. Like, if you're not going well and sometimes you start the next game again, you can almost be ready to make a mistake. Like, if you come on, you're not going to be taken off again. So there's actually a bit of a release to it. And then hopefully he's back to the player that we know, and then, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But even if he does start, hopefully he makes all this idle talk and he absolutely fine.
And I suppose Cahill will have known, like, the last 2 weeks since the Waterford game when he was subbed off, like, if he's responded well in training and he's going well enough, like, you'd probably say great. And, like, they are playing a Cork team who will give you chances. Like, what is it, 225, 326 and 326 they've conceded. Like, they're very like, that's why I'm sort of optimistic that Tip can get a result, because, like, Tip play well against teams that let them hurl. Tip struggle against teams that are structured, and like Limerick, likes of a Wexford, likes of a Waterford, like, they sort of play a running style, that they play with more athleticism, whereas and we know Cork have pace, but Cork will let you hurl, and that's what Tip want to do.
Yeah, that's true. Do you know what? I'd be more concerned overall with not the young lads at Tipperary. So Dara Stakelum, thought he did fine. Throw in Sean Kennelly, I think he'd do fine. You know, it's not that sort of stuff. Owen Connolly, really, really good. And, you know, maybe they could have left him on even longer, but maybe he was out of juice, or they just wanted to give Willie Connors a game. Connor Bowe, fine. It's the younger lads aren't the thing that's worrying me at all. It's that, you know, Jason Ford isn't quite hitting his straps at the moment, even though Jake Morris, who we both think, you know, is maybe the most talented player and scored 3 points, it feels like he's having to go 2 and 3 times at the ball before it'll actually come up to him. And then maybe that slows him down. And he just doesn't seem to be flying at the moment. It's maybe more the experienced players that I think Tipperary could hit a height this weekend if the lads who have been there for years can actually get back to where they normally are.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And but if you were to be the optimist that, as well as we played at the start, at the last day, like we did, as you say, Jake Jake's touches a little off. A few players took maybe 2 and 3 attempts to get off the ball, and that's probably get the ball up. That's sort of a confidence thing that maybe if we start out that we're coming in with a bit of confidence rather than negativity, lads will be more relaxed going to the ball. The ball will come up a little easier, maybe come up first time, and like if we get the ball up first time and away with it, like we're in with a shot. Like, look, there's no doubt about it. If Cork bring what they brought last week, then that's the big question. Can Cork bring what they brought last week in 8 days? Something tells me that they can't, but maybe they won't have to bring that level. Like I just think emotionally, geez, they left everything out in that field last week. Like I still think remind of Tipperary last year. Like Tip absolutely emptied themselves against Limerick. And a week later against Waterford, they looked punch drunk, like, so they had nothing left. I think that'll be the first 5 or 10 minutes. That'll be the interesting thing for me is what Cork will we get. I have no doubt. Look, a confident Cork team is very, very dangerous, and like they'll have gotten a huge traction off last week. It's just that you can't go to the well like that every day in terms of trying to rediscover yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the great unknown at the moment. I was just wondering then about the matchups that Tipperary will go for, and it's up to Cork how they mark the Tipperary backs. But number one, I would imagine that Tipperary will be playing with a sweeper here. Like throughout the last game, Ronan Maher was totally a spare man from what I saw. And having watched it back the second time, he was Tip's sweeper, and I think they'll do that again. And I was just wondering, like, who would be the matchups then? And I was thinking maybe Cathal Barrett and Horgan, maybe Michael Breen and Alan Connolly. Could you have Craig Morgan and Brian Hayes, Harnedy maybe by Bo, Brian O'Mara on Shane Barrett, someone else drop in and maybe take Declan Dalton? Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
I don't think we'll see sweepers this week. I think Tip preferred to play 6-on-6. I think Tip responded to what Waterford wanted. Like I don't foresee Tip playing a sweeper. I think Ron will be at 6 all right, but I don't foresee anybody else back with him. I think from my own thoughts, I think Morgan goes on Horgan. I think Barrett goes on Connolly, because I think he's just a nuggety sort of a player. And Brian Hayes is the X factor, isn't he? Just with his sheer size and his touch. And I just think for size alone, Michael Breen we have no choice but to put Michael Breen on him, I would have thought. Like, so
I'd say the same with Connolly. I don't think we can afford to not put Breen on Connolly.
I'd love to put an out and out defender on him, like just and I think Barrett relishes that sort of a contest, like, so that way. And then
who did you say for Horgan?
Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan has the speed, all right.
Yeah,
it's just in terms of experience, I'd be looking at Barrett as the man.
Yeah, and then I suppose the half back line. Look, I suppose you'd have O'Mara and Bo on wings. It's sort of much of a muchness matter who picks up Dalton and who picks up Harnedy, if you know what I mean. Like, it's both have their strengths. Like, so I'd say O'Mara probably matches up better with Harnedy. Maybe, I don't know. It's strange. Like, look, I would see a problem maybe with Ronan Maher and Barrett if Barrett gets ball and runs at him, because we know Ronan on the back foot is not quick. Like, so I think there's no doubt. I think Owen Connolly, I think one of our midfielders will probably have to play a defensive sort of a shift, maybe just to stay close to Ronan to make sure we're not overly exposed. I'd be surprised actually because I don't anticipate Cork having to play in a sweeper. So if they don't, I don't think Tip will set up with one then.
I think we'll concede 3 or 4 goals if we don't play with Ronan as an extra man back there. However Cork set up, I think we have to. Because their speed, we do not have their speed, and obviously they have a lot of class as well. But if we leave that centre open, they're going to feast on us. So I think we have to go with a spare man back there.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I can see your thinking. I'd just be surprised. I think we'd be handing the initiative to Cork. I know you might think it's the smart way to go. Like, we did concede 4 goals to them last year, but I thought a lot of the match we out hurled them too. Like, so.
Well, put it this way: would Cork rather a bit more traffic to run through, or would they like a nice open game and draw their half hours out the field and like oceans of space? I think we have to look at what suits us. And if we were able to sort of, turn it into a bit of a battle, and like Ronan, obviously not to be a passive sweeper, but anytime the ball comes up, he's straight over to wherever the action is to throw his, he's a strong boy in there. Gets
look, I if we did it, it would make sense. But I'm just trying to think of had the management ever gone out with a sweeper before playing a team that we know won't play one? I don't remember us ever doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but we have done it in our last game. We've played with an extra man back there.
But I think that was what we knew Waterford were going to like. Waterford always set up with a sweeper, like.
Yeah, but it's road tested from that game.
Absolutely. I get you. No, it's an interesting one.
Like who's going to keep with Dara Fitzgibbon if he runs through the centre? We need a body back there.
Oh no, I think we just need to keep it congested as much as we will play a 2-man full forward line. I'd say with Jake might come out, maybe Nolan McGrath goes to be a third midfielder. We will keep it congested. There was some we know what Cork have speed, but I think we have more power in that sort of central area, if you know what I mean. It's if we can stop them from getting up ahead of speed, but before they get moving, I think we have a chance. But I think we've got to make sure that we get enough of quality supply of ball into our own forwards, and as they get Tailteann having as big a game as he had in Páirc Uí Chaoimh last year, Nolan McGrath, we know what Jake Mark Keogh, I suppose. Mark needs to back up the last day now. I thought I watched the match again. The more I saw of him, Jesus, he was in everything. He was just a leader. He was just, especially in the last 10 minutes when he went out and he offered himself onto Barry Hogan to get the puck outs and get the play moving. He didn't wait for it. He went and made things happen. And I just think the fact that the likes of Garrod O'Connor, Jake Morris, they'd know an awful lot of those Cork defenders from college hurling, and I'd say they'd have absolutely no fear of them at all. And I was just trying to think of some of the Cork matchups. I would assume maybe O'Donoghue will probably go on Morris, and Toomey will start. I think if I suppose the only question is, I assume when Joyce is fit, he comes back in, and I'd be thinking O'Mahony probably drops out rather than Rob Downey. You can't drop Rob Downey. You can't. And you can say Mark Coleman's defensive instincts are weak, but Jesus, he offers them so much going forward. You can't drop Coleman's one of your best 5 players.
I also think that I know it's a long time ago now, but you kind of have to target Mark Coleman at the things that he's probably not brilliant at. He's an unbelievable hurler, don't get me wrong, but this was back when he was a young lad. But remember Waterford, the All-Ireland semi-final, put Brick Walshore to his side and hit puckouts at him. So I'd be thinking, Garrod O'Connor, go over to his wing. Hopefully he stays on his wing and hit every puck out straight down on top of him. Or do what they did against Limerick, hit every puck out straight down the throat. The other thing as well about how they use the route 1 puck outs, the quick 1-2, we can't allow the quick 1-2. So when I say that Tip should sit back with a sweeper, now you won't be able to do this for quick puck outs, but push back up then for the puck outs, which is easier said than done. And at times you'll leave yourself a little bit exposed, but I think
I'd be surprised actually if Cork go with that game plan against Tip, because I think that plays into Tip sort of prefer an old style hurling, direct ball down the top of half backs. We have guys who are good in the air, and we know how strong Ronan Maher is under a high ball. So I suspect Kyle Cork will probably do it the odd time. I'd say I think they might try and go back towards maybe what they're more of their athletic running game, and it was I suppose they had to throw something different at Limerick, and I suppose they went back to what Tipperary did in the first half of the 2021 Munster final. It was the very same game plan, long down the middle, hit the break. You won't win all the breaks, but make sure you're in position if the ball breaks to be the first one there, and they fill their boots in the first half.
Do Tipper in a position which, in a way, it's not bad now, because everyone's talking about Cork. They just beat the best team in the country. They're flying, and every player they have is unreal now. Patrick Horgan, look at the steely ones on him to bury that penalty at the end. So Cork are all of a sudden being talked about as being a team that one more win now and they're in the All-Ireland hunt. Whereas, look at Tipperary, being questioned by everybody, the last number of games especially. A couple of years ago, last time home against Cork, lost by 12 points, got absolutely annihilated. That was one of the toughest defeats to watch. And, above all, the championship is on the line. If Tipperary are ever going to come out and sort of ram it down people's throats, it's now.
Oh, absolutely. They're in a perfect position. The 15 days rest, they can really prime themselves from this. And look, you break it down, they have their fate in their own hands. Win your 2 home games, you're in a Munster final. If you said that after your 2 away games, you take it. And look, I know maybe Semple Stadium is not the pure home advantage that it is for other counties, because everyone loves playing there, which is probably the killing thing about it. We really don't have a home advantage, and we're probably going to be outnumbered in our own stadium. But look, that's as much down to Cork's huge support base as well. But look, I'm just looking forward to the occasion. I'm sure it'll probably be close to a sellout. The weather looks good on Sunday. I'm sure the Liberty Square will be absolutely hopping from early in the morning, and it just feels like it. And it's win or bust for either team. It just feels like old school knockout hurling as we were used to when me and you were in short pants.
And that wasn't there yesterday. Delighted to say we're joined by Denis Hurley of the Echo. Denis, how are things with you? I suppose you're snarling after the win over Limerick at the weekend and just looking forward to Philip and Tipperary this weekend. I think his connection might have stalled, so maybe he'll come back in a second. Just some of the comments here. Richard Hogan says the Downey brothers will be at 3 and 6. If Cork do go short, then Tipperary should go after O'Donoghue. Would be surprised if Collins didn't use O'Leary more if he goes short. That is something. I thought Sean O'Donoghue had an unbelievable game in terms of his matchup with Aaron Gillane, and Gillane was taken off near the end, which you think about, imagine taking off Gillane near the end of a tight game. But he will be a small bit nervy after being turned over twice for Limerick goals. Oh
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it was crazy. You think it, you just don't give Limerick an opportunity, those short puck outs. They want you to do that. They're too good. If you're trying to tap the ball in the hurling, they'll dispossess you. So. But I thought his 1-on-1 defending on Gillane was superb. He was really, really good. I don't know. I could see. I definitely think Joyce comes back in. I nearly leave Downey where he is and put Joyce on the wing. I really would. I think Joyce has to play for Cork, but I don't think Rob Downey's the one to drop out. I think it's probably more O'Mahony or Coleman.
Yeah, Denis Hurley of the Echo. Do you want to give us your thoughts on Cork after the weekend? And even in terms of, I don't believe Robbie O'Flynn is going to be available, but Kieran Joyce, that presents a bit of an issue, a nice headache for Pat Ryan this week.
Hi, lads. How are things? Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I was talking to Pat yesterday, and he said Kieran will be, he'll have a chance playing. Whether that'll be enough to start is another question then. And if he is, obviously, it's like you said, the nice headache of do you change a winning team? I think if he is kind of, let's say 70-80% ready, he probably will be playing. And if he does come in, I would just think to be a reversal of what happened for the Limerick game. He'd come back in for Mark Coleman and Rob Downey go back out to the wing. Rob did very well on Saturday night. He held the centre. And he I think it was his first time playing there in the championship, and he had a very very encouraging performance. He didn't want to come off at the end, but he was just cramping up a bit, and the management took the decision out of his hands. But yeah, it's funny, Cork conceded 3-26 at home to Clare, and people were saying this is terrible, a serious senior inter-county team can't concede this and hope to succeed, and then you concede exactly the same amount against Limerick, but it's fine when you score 328. So it just showed Cork I think took a lot of heart from how they played for 50 minutes against Clare, 15 of 15. I know Clare were kind of coming with a bit of momentum at the time of the red card, but after that, then it was always going to be very tough to get something from the game. So I think they kind of really drilled down into that.
I might come back in, yeah, but like if you'd say like Cork's form has been pretty good. Like, was like take the red card and the black card were key in the Waterford game. The O'Donoghue red card against Clare probably was the turning point of that game too. Like, so like there's no doubt like they've only one win from 3, but they've performed pretty well in all 3 matches. Like, so you'd say that in terms of consistency, you probably feel they're going to perform this weekend. Are they going to perform to the same level as against Limerick? That's the question. It'd be difficult, but if they get to 90-95%, that might be enough. Like, because like unless Tipperary brings something absolutely huge, and I think that's the thing. If both teams play at their best, you say Cork win it, but that's we have 2 teams whose failing over the years is consistency. So which one is going to back up a decent performance the last day with another one?
And Denis, when you look at it, like we've kind of given the Tipperary side of events, how do you look at this in terms of like what are you expecting from Cork this weekend and what are you expecting from Tipperary?
Sorry there, but my connectivity down in deepest West Cork. Like it's a big challenge. It's a different kind of a challenge for Cork. This is the 5th year of their own robin, and this will be the 3rd time that Cork will have to go to thirdless on the last day to get a win. The first time was against Waterford, and they needed to win to get the Munster final 2 years ago. It was a match against Tip that they had to win to qualify. Very similar to this week. Obviously, it's not the absolute final round of fixtures, but in both of those games, Cork started slowly and had to kind of claw their way back in. And you'd wonder now, will it be the same, or will they have guarded against the same, given that it's such a high to come down off? And like Pat Ryan said, that they met up on Sunday and parked the Limerick match and the focus fully turned to Tip. But obviously, it's a lot easier said than done, and that's the challenge now, because inconsistency has dogged Cork for the best part of a decade. Really, a really good match followed by an underperformance, and it's frustrating for the fans. Obviously, it's frustrating for the players and the management that they don't do it on purpose, but for whatever reason, it keeps happening. And this is a massive challenge now, because you're going against a Tip team who have to win to keep their aspirations alive as well. And it should make for a great occasion. Like, it is, a draw would probably keep Tip alive going to the last match up in Ennis, but it is, to all intents and purposes, a knockout game in thirdless Cork and Tip. I suppose we haven't had that since 2017 when Cork sprung a surprise really in the Munster quarter final against the All Ireland champions, going in a game a few expect them to win with so many young players, and they managed to kind of to surprise a lot of people that day. I suppose, like you say, the scenario is a bit different this time in that, if both teams play to their limits, to their potential, you would be thinking Cork should do it after last week. But, you were expecting a Cork performance down in Waterford in the opening round, and they just really didn't hit anything near their best. And then, obviously, Waterford just tore into them from the start. Sorry, Patrick McMahon says the last match in third is not in us, which is a very fair point. But yeah, it's is really, really well poised. Both teams come in, I suppose, after digging out good results from the jaws of defeat last day. And like Shane said a while ago, I'm just really excited, really looking forward to it. It should be a great occasion. I think something like 8,000 extra tickets sold on Saturday night, after the Limerick game. There'll be a huge Cork support, huge Tip support, and it has all the ingredients of something special again.
What did you make of the pitch invasion last week? And we saw that with Clare last year, and the slating they got from specifically Limerick people thinking they'd won an All Ireland, on the basis of a round robin game. But what did you make of it?
It strikes me a bit like the the celebration police that we hear of, on Sky Sports, or Richard Keys as well, giving out about teams, over celebrating when they haven't won silverware. But every team is at a different level. Like, obviously, Limerick aren't going to have a pitch invasion if they win a match with a late fight back. But what have Cork won in the last decade? A few months of championships. That's it. Like, I remember there was a big pitch invasion in 2008 in Thurles when Cork came back to beat Galway with 14 men, and it's just it's what happens in the moment. Like, no one was expecting Cork to win that match. Cork were up by 8 the other night, and then Limerick came back to go 4 ahead, and you're thinking, this is what Limerick always do. So to come back and show such character to win like that, everyone in the stadium was just completely caught up in it, living in the moment, which is great to see. Obviously, there have been a couple of security issues and safety issues, which no one wants to see anything like that. And if something like a pitch invasion is to happen, it's important that it happens safely. But it's not so long ago people were getting out about Croke Park kind of getting more heavy-handed and not allowing any fans on, and how it sanitized everything. So, are you just going to have a prescribed scale for the level of celebration allowed at each stage, or are you just going to have these spontaneous shows of emotion?
Yeah, and like sometimes, as you say, sometimes a county needs it, and like we'll only know in the next few years whether last Saturday was a seminal moment for Cork hurling. Like everything has to start from somewhere. Like it can start from a game. Like, I would still say that, remember, Tipperary's turnaround under Liam Sheedy in 2009 was actually a defeat to Kilkenny in a league final, but they showed fight and spirit that day, that they got the fans on board. Like, even though it was a defeat, but we finally saw somebody stand up to Kilkenny, and to say, look, we've seen Clare do it, now we've seen Limerick do it. Like, and look, it's definitely exposed a chink in Limerick's armour that they haven't. Look, they've sort of been getting through this year's championship on their experience and championship smarts rather than the quality of their play. Even though they scored 326, like, and they came from behind, but it's just not gelling for them quite yet.
Yeah, and they're missing Darragh O'Donovan, who was such a vital cog, who probably doesn't get the glory compared to other guys. And he obviously brings his own qualities, and he elevates other guys. So he's a big miss in the middle. And I think Limerick, obviously they've had serious injuries the last few years. Like, they won All Ireland without Declan Hannon, they won one without Cian Lynch. They have a really strong 17-18. But I wonder, is there the strong 21-22 that if guys aren't up to the extremely high levels that they've set over the last few years, are they able to shake things up as much if required? We could be sitting here in a couple of weeks' time now after they bare their claws against Waterford and their safety into another Munster final. And, things change very quickly. Like, you go back to a year ago and, like, if Tip had beaten Waterford, Limerick wouldn't have made the Munster final, and how would that have affected their journey? Cork had another point in injury time, and Limerick were gone. And then fast forward a couple of months, and they're putting 9 points in Galway and 9 points on Kilkenny, and it's the best team ever, which they're obviously in that conversation. But they're defined moments, and like you say about Tip in 2009, that's it. It's not all about wins; it's about staging points on the journey and just showing you can stand up to teams. Like Cork had the close defeats last year, which showed that they were close. But then if you keep losing the close matches, is that a question of character and temperament and stuff? So that as well is what people were so pleased with Cork, that they were able to just dog out a tight match against a super team.
And you look at Wexford, what they've done this year, lost Antrim and then turned around and got a big win. Denis, I want to ask you, when you look at the Tipperary team, where do you think Cork should go after? But just before you answer that, I might just read out a little bit of what Liam Cahill has said in terms of this weekend, and it's sort of a rallying cry cry to supporters. He said, I will say to Tip supporters, get in behind them, support them, and try and future-proof Tipperary hurling going forward and hopefully pick up a bit of silverware. I know we've probably chugged along at times on dirty petrol, as they say, if it was a car, but we try so hard in training and it has to come out eventually on the field. So just Dennis, like, where do you see the chinks in the Tipperary armoury?
Like it's kind of it's hard to say who's exist.
I think we've lost him again. Hopefully he'll just log straight back in again. But just in terms of like what Liam Cahill is saying there, and you're saying you don't feel the vibe is hugely positive in Tip. Like, if we were outnumbered badly in Thurles, that would be an awful shame.
I told you, like I look, I can understand. Like, okay, it's not humming like the way we want to, and look, Cork had a great win last week, but sure. Like I said, Brian Cody's own mantra, every game takes on the life of its own. There's absolutely no reason why Tip can't win at the weekend. And I've said it numerous times. Cork always give you a chance to play. Cork will always let you play. And Tip prefer teams that let them hurl. And I think Cork will let them hurl. Cork will play to Tipperary strengths. It's up to whether Tipperary play well enough on the day to get the win is the thing. Because I think this is going to be a shootout. I think like Cork have shown, as I said, that 225, 326, and 326. They're not improving defensively. So can we take advantage of that? And I think it's up to whether Tip can stop there. Can maybe slow down their athleticism and I suppose keep a check on the likes of Barrett and Fitzgibbon, like in the middle third, like. And look, I'd be optimistic enough that Tip could get the win. Like, I just think it's I think for either Pat Ryan or Liam Cahill, like both are in their second years as managers. I think for whoever wins, it's going to be massive. Like I think for whoever wins, the winner will go through in the top three. I think I think Cork will probably get through on 4. I'd like to think Tip, if they got a confidence boosting win, I'd have Cork. Clare are a very good team, but I still think Tipperary on their day could beat them as well.
Dennis, you might take up that point. Sorry, I had to kick you out there because you were frozen.
Sorry, sorry about that again. And I'll actually have to head away now in a minute or two. What I was going to say was, like, you've two very different Tip performances to deal with. I think Cork will try and do what Waterford did, go for goals early, try and build a lead, and then Cork will be better on the front foot. Like you say, Cork conceded a lot. You're expecting another high-scoring game again, so it's about kind of just asserting themselves early, not having to fight back, and kind of being seen as a hangover from Saturday evening. But again, like Shane said, whoever wins, I think, will be going through. But it's
Okay. Well, look, it was great to have Dennis on the show. I don't think he'll click back in there now. But does it?
The Richard Hogan's question. Last puck of the game, Tip are a point down, penalty. Do you take your point and stay alive for another week, or do you go for the goal? Potentially saved and you're out.
I think it depends on the confidence of the player at the time. If, let's say, it's Jason Ford and he's over it, if he feels he can stitch it, it doesn't matter.
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's like if you miss or it saves, the last game is for nothing. Like hopefully it doesn't come down to that and we have the game well won at that stage and we're not chasing. But like you just know the way this championship is going. Like it's mental, isn't it? Even in Leinster, like it's okay. You could say the standard is different. Like I think Cork had scored more in one half last week in Limerick than both Carlow and Kilkenny had scored in 70 minutes in Carlow. So like I wouldn't say the excitement levels and the quality is chalk and cheese, but like between both championships at the moment, Patrick McMahon on their day, that was a league semi-final on the day. Like I still think on the day, didn't we go to Ennis and beat Clare last year on the day? Like, so look, we've every game is different. You just don't know what can happen. Like Clare are a better team than Tip at the moment, but on the day, who's to say Tip couldn't beat them? if there's qualification on the line on Sunday week. That's my point.
Yeah, and sure, if Limerick played
Games
Cork
are not won on
next week,
paper.
yeah, I mean, if Limerick played Cork again next week, you'd probably still be tipping Limerick.
Absolutely.
Just on the day, Cork managed to get that win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw an interesting point there from Hurling 1234 in terms of now this was a question for Denis, but unfortunately he's gone at this stage. But like, look at that spine: Owen Downey, Joyce, Toomey, Connolly, Barrett, Hayes, all under 22 years of age. If this Cork team gets a bit of confidence and belief, which maybe they're at the start of now, we've always been wondering last 5 years when they take over.
And we also from underage Dalton Coleman and Fitzgibbon, like all under 20 or all about 26, 27, but they're talented. So like there's no doubt like Cork have they have the tools to go very, very.
Yeah, Patrick McMahon. Last year. This is 2024, and Tipper rubbish this year.
Okay, we'll see. We'll let the games play out. Patrick. What point were you making?
Just in terms of like Cork could potentially take over for a number of years if they do finally get a bit of confidence.
I wouldn't say take over. Like I'd say, look, consistently contend and getting out of the Munster top three. Like it's you'd have to think they have a very, very good platform now to do so.
I mean,
it's up to whether they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, hurling 1, 2, 3, 4. Ben Cunningham hasn't even played yet. Brian Hurley, I'd be basing, his thoughts on Tipperary on Tip missing 9 out of 10 frees, which have made the game a lot closer with Tip having played awful, Patrick. I would say, like have Tipperary hit whatever about Tipperary maybe been behind some of the top teams. Fair enough, obviously that's the case. But have Tipperary played close to their potential so far in this championship in this year? Absolutely not. Now, we're not tipping Tipperary to go and win the All-Ireland here by any stretch. But if Tipperary play at 100% in this game, like if Ford, Jake Morris, other key players, if they all catch fire, Tipperary can do a lot of damage in this game. Like Mark Keogh could fill his boots here. So I do have a level of confidence. I'm realistic enough about the fact that Tipperary aren't going at 100%. But I wouldn't be totally downtrodden. No,
and like that's the thing. Like we did a lot right, and you think against Waterford, like we took so much, too many sucker punches that day. Like whether there were goals softly conceded by poor refereeing decisions or by our own switching off, we responded each time. Like so, like if we could cut out those mistakes, take our chances in terms of frees when they come, there's absolutely no reason why we can't mix it with the best. It's just that frustrating lack of consistency. Like if we could find another 10% on top of the Waterford match, I think we'll go very close on Sunday. And I'll be optimistic we can do that. It's just that I think there's a lot of people in Tip look at other counties. Cork have pace and Limerick have power and Clare have wristy hurlers and speed, and look at it. It's as if Tip are all slow and we have no hurlers. I don't know where this negativity is coming out of. Like, I suppose each county will always be hard on their own, but I even during the years we struggled, we always backed our team. But God, there's just whatever it is. There's even some of the diehard fans, like as if they're. I don't know if they're protecting themselves from failure to being prepared. Like, just every chance Tip could be beaten at the weekend. Tip could hurl very, very well at the weekend and still lose by a point or two. That's the fine margins in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tip need to obviously hammer into this game. As much as I think that Tipperary probably have to play a sweeper in this game, if at the top end your tacklers, the lads who then have to work even harder, are Jake Morris, Jason Ford, Noah McGrath, you're asking a lot of lads who maybe that's not their game, and you also want them to stay high, close to goal. I just think there's more question marks around Tipperary, and confidence is probably the biggest part. Like, why aren't Tipperary going well? Confidence is low. Like, fair enough, won an All-Ireland in 2019, but the couple of seasons before that and all the seasons since, Tipperary haven't really been winning too many games, or, there's been a couple of heavy defeats as well. So I think confidence is a little bit flaky, but you could probably say the same about Cork as well. they keep flattering to deceive, and we'll hope that this weekend is another one of those instances.
Like just Cahill, my God, it's actually something I noticed with the Tip minor teams with Woodlock this year. Every game for the throw-in, if you noticed, the two midfielders absolutely rev into the top position midfield shoulders, and just Cahill say to Tynan and Conley, that's just, it might just spark everyone into life. It'll get the crowd going. Like I think Tip hurl better with a bit of emotion to their play, if you know what I mean. And I just think it'll get the players revved up. And we see like that's my worry, is that if we're not emotionally primed, we're a very, very ordinary team. I think when it comes to championship hurling, you have to get that bit of bitterness into your play, like, and it draws an extra bit out you. And I would like to think that it's hard to do when you have a team that comes out in the field at 320, and but look, Jim McGuinness was doing it in the warm-up for Donegal last weekend. He was in and out. Like, they had 45-second drills, called it back in, was revving them up, went back into the same drill again. Like, there's a way it can be done.
Yeah, look, I would give Tipperary a chance to win this game. Yeah. Put a gun to my head, maybe I'm getting more positive as we get closer to the game.
Yeah.
And having watched back the Waterford game again yesterday, and the fact that, like you said, Tipperary found a comeback every time they, had a blow. The early penalty, not getting a penalty when Mark Keogh was wrestled to the ground.
Yeah.
Just like players' first touch letting them down or whatever. But the fight was still there to keep coming back and keep coming back.
Like the vibe from Denis is that, the way Denis was talking, I'd say Joyce will probably start from the bench. Like, they're probably not going to, if there's any doubt, you don't start him.
Yeah. No, yeah. I kind of agree.
They'll go at the back six, and Cork's bench is good. Like, if they're saying Kingston came on, was very, very, very good as well. Like, so I suppose Tip's bench has a lot more experience as well. Like, and like it's like yeah, Bonner come on. John McGrath, I thought was very impressive when he came on the last day. Like, he'd be able to pick up pockets of space, and it'd be like if Tipper if this game is tight with 10-15 minutes to go, will last Saturday's game begin to hit the Cork legs? If I think the weather is looking like about 20-21 degrees, I think, on Sunday. Like, will that start to have an impact on Cork? It's just, there's so many things that can happen. Like, I just can't wait for, like, I was trying to think the last time Tip and Cork had a real big championship match in Thurles. I'd say it was the 2006 Munster final. Like, so like, that place was jammered. That I know the 2010 game was in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. That was huge, and Cork gives a fair trimming that day. But like, it's just, can't wait for it. And I suppose it's great in some ways that it's the two teams just have to focus on themselves. That really, it doesn't matter what happens up in Ennis beforehand, because Tip and Cork have it's knockout nearly essentially. Like, so you probably think Clare should beat Waterford, but you never know. Could be the day that Davy finally gets one over Lohan. Who knows?
Yeah, you just don't know. So, neck on the block, who's winning this game?
Oh, I'm going with Tip. We have to.
Yeah,
have to. Well, you have. If you're any Tip supporter, and look, these are the type of games that you just have to put on the jersey, and hopefully they can do it. Like, if you were to go on what we've seen at the moment, Cork are rightly favourites. But like, if Tip can bring another 10 or 15% from the Waterford game, I give them every chance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Pam Moore sums it up nicely. Tip and long grass will just lower the blade. So I hope that does happen. And the question, who's the ref on Sunday? Thomas Walsh. So, a lot will rest on how he lets the game flow as well. I think Tipperary are going to win this.
Did so many matches this year. Did he do Galway Kilkenny? Did he?
What's that?
Did he do the Galway Kilkenny game?
I know I saw him recently, and I'm trying to wonder, was it as a sideline official or was it as a ref?
I remember. Like, I know we were critical of the ref last week. I thought Sean Stack's performance last Saturday night was terrific. Like, really, really good. And Chris Mooney in the Carlow Kilkenny game, like, didn't balk at the red card offence with Killian Doyle. Got it right. And then I didn't know about that new ruling that came in of throwing the ball away and that you could turn it into a free. Like, so fair play to him. Like, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, and I suppose now you'll be less inclined to talk up Kilkenny in future now after they drew with Carlow.
Probably, but it was a bad result for Dublin. Like, Dublin probably don't need Kilkenny coming absolutely frothing at the mouth now to Parnell Park. Like, but it's a great opportunity for Dublin now. Like, Kilkenny probably still depleted a little. Like, you'd like to think they won't be as wasteful the next day, but like, like, if you think if Dublin win this weekend or the Leinster final, and can potentially Kilkenny have to play Wexford in the last day to stay alive in the championship, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Like, it's just been a super championship so far.
Yeah, really, really exciting. In terms of Thomas Walsh, referee, Richard Hogan says, yes, Shane, he did do Galway against Kilkenny. Yeah, look, I mean, in Dublin, there's a round of club fixtures starting at 6:30 on Saturday evening, a half an hour after the throw-in for the Dublin against Kilkenny game. That's pre-planning for you.
Yeah, sure. Like that match would have been fixed for 6 o'clock months ago, wouldn't it? Are there 6:30? Are they sort of de facto times like we do in Tip? Like, your Sunday at 12 is the locked-in, but you have the flexibility to move it. Like, it would.
Yeah, if two clubs agree, you can move it. But like, why were they fixed for that time in the first place? And a lot of people aren't going to bother moving it around, because let's say you've got a county panelist and the opposition doesn't, and you say to them, hey, can we move the game to Sunday morning at 11? And they're like, well, no. If he has a county panelist who didn't play last night, he'll have them available for the match the next day. We're not moving it. So you're going to find out that there's going to be a lot of people who won't be available to go and support their county.
I like a Dublin County Board should really say, look, a blanket postponement just for this throw-in time. We'll refix them all for another day.
I'd cut the head off you. If you propose that to me and I'm managing a team Saturday night, I'd cut the head off you, Shane.
Yeah, well, I would say the same. Like, it's potentially going to happen in Tip next Monday night, where there's a round of games in the under-17 hurling league up against the Munster minor hurling final, and I'm not sure whether. Not every club will have a player on the team, but the match is on TG Cahir. I would have thought Tipperary, Cushton and Oak should make a call now. All those games are off to allow as many people can get to Limerick as possible. Like, I'm sure they can be re-slotted in over the next, or re-slotted in maybe on a Thursday night somewhere over the next few weeks. Whereas, like, lads will play 2 matches a week at under 17 level. I mean, no problem with that.
Just moving on to the under 20s then. You know, in defeat last Friday to Clare, but look, Tips, you know, they're still in a decent spot. What do you make of how that went? I mean, Conor Whelan obviously caught fire for Clare totally, but Tipperary started quite well. I mean, look, you're going to call Burris Lee bias here, but Paddy McCormick started really well, had 3 points, won a free that was scored, went off with maybe a thumb injury. I mean, but look, Tipper's still alive and going well.
Yeah, I didn't get to see an awful lot of it, but like, as from the report I read and listened to Cummins, like, we did miss an awful lot of chances, particularly goal chances. Like, we it's a game we could have won, but it's like we have severe difficulty with a lot of Clare teams at the moment at minor level and in football and at senior level. Like, if you don't put a Clare team away, like, they'll come back and haunt you. And look, Clare got the couple of points in injury time to get through. Look, in some ways, I suppose that not taking those chances was probably something that you'd be disappointed in. But in some ways, it's a great position to be in going into a Munster final, that the players are grounded, probably up against. I would fancy probably Clare to beat Cork in the semi-final. So, and then if you get a chance to go at Clare again, maybe on Friday week, it's never nice to lose, but sometimes you can. If there's a game to lose, maybe it's a game doesn't probably cost you in the end.
Yeah, the way it worked out, Tipperary.
Yeah, but like, it would be great now if Paddy McCormick's hope. I haven't heard yet how severe that thumb injury was. It was great to see him. Like, he was really dictating the play until he went off, and look, it probably put a lot of focus on Darren McCarthy. Who, look, he's been well shackled from open play in the last couple of games. Like, so, you'd still like to have that focal point at full forwards. Like I don't think Owen Craddock is a like for like replacement. I think Owen is a good, honest forward. Like Paddy McCormack has that bit of class that you can put him in at full forward. Look, Oisin O'Donoghue is a guy like I've great hopes for the next few years. Like he's just been very, very good. Like and got another cracking goal. Like you'd think, 18 points wasn't a bad score to concede, but you're not going to win too many matches with 114 at this level, and we just need to. The goal chances come hopefully in the Munster final that will take them.
Yeah,
We'll
I just felt
that game next week.
Obviously, the work rate's great. It just whatever it is about some of the other counties, and Tipperary aren't great at doing this, but I mean maybe one or two lads over the years are, but other teams are very good at exaggerating, half fouls and making the referee blow the whistle, and feels like we're constantly giving away these handy ones. And Clare going to a tackle and the two arms are flying up in the air. It was frustrating to watch that, and I feel referees just buy it too often. Now maybe we need to be more disciplined or whatever, but it drives me to distraction.
Especially that type of like we saw with Alan Tynan the week before. Like if you're making a run like that, you've got to be so careful at how you approach even a tackle, because you 9 times 8, like a lot of times refs are going to give the free into even if there's the slightest of contact. Like, and that's the thing. Like, so it's
like Waterford were at it constantly, straight into a tackle, arms up in the air. It was a very annoying to watch, I have to say, because the ref kept buying.
Yeah. Just interesting about the Leinster semis tonight. I think I fancy Offaly to beat Kilkenny. I don't know why that's not in a neutral venue. I think that's an awful advantage to Offaly, considering I think Galway and Wexford's in a neutral venue. Like, so I don't know who agreed to that. Like, but I'd fancy Offaly to win through, and it's Galway and Dublin. Dublin, probably Galway probably would fancy to win that one.
Yeah, Galway put a big score on Dublin there about, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, in the group game. But to be fair to Dublin, like, they conceded 2 goals through switching off from frees, and Aaron Nyland blasted balls into the top corner from frees from the 21. So they're going to be surely a bit more switched on to that. By the way, Patrick McMahon, who's shown that he's a Clare man after cutting loose on us earlier saying we're rubbish, just to show I'm not totally biased, I have to say Tips should have beat us last Friday, and if we meet in the final, they will be favourites. You're trying to build us up now.
But it could be. It has the potential to be a massive week. Like, you have the minor final Monday. I'd fancy Clare to beat Cork in the semi, so you could have a Tip Clare under-20 final on the Friday, and then potentially you could have a Tip beat Clare all or nothing Munster Championship game on the Sunday. Like, depending on how this weekend's games go out, like it would be some 7 days of hurling between if the rivalry is not back up after that, when will it ever be if certain results go their way? Galway missing Ireland, big loss.
Owen Horgan in the goals for the 20s. He's a fierce, talented player, and also Senan Butler.
He's the best underage goalie I've seen come through, and we've brought through a lot, I'd say, over the last 10 or 15 lads with potential. I think he's the highest potential of any of the ones that, like the Brian Hogans, the Barry Hogans, the Rhys Shelleys. I did think he's had the highest potential of any of them.
And I was going to move on to Senan Butler then. His ability to control a ball at 100 miles an hour, no matter what way it's going, like, that would augur well for his future, because that's one of the toughest skills going, and he's brilliant. I know he only scored a point after the hat trick previously, but he does look like a really good prospect. I know. Like, I know that there's some talent there, and like we haven't seen the best of Darren McCarthy yet. I wonder, would Tip maybe look to move him to a different position, maybe to centre forward or something? It's like when you're in corner forward or inside the foot, you're wholly reliant on the service a lot of the time coming in, like, and then you're probably on the opposition's best opposition defender. I'm not sure was Owen Gunning marking him last Friday. I didn't see an awful lot of the game, so just to see, can we get him into the game more, like, because he's we're just probably not seeing the best of him at the moment. Yeah, and A Sully 180 says Galway missing Nyland tonight. Is that an injury, Andrew? You might reply to us quickly there if so. River Power says good man is Butler to hit a ball on the lift at high speed. And I suppose then with the minors, another victory there. You know, like after conceding, wasn't it 4 goals against Clare, to find a way to get over the line. It wasn't high scoring or anything like that. I think it was it 13 points to 12. Yeah, Tipperary found a way over the line, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, and look, as was, I suppose, after the 4 goals conceded against Clare, it's great to see like this was win where the backs really stepped up. Like, because Limerick were on the front foot for a lot of the game, like they hit 14 wides, but Tip were just, it didn't really gel, but like they gritted it out. Like they got a couple of scores towards the end to get over the line, and I suppose with the help of Clare beating Cork, it was enough for Tip to get through to the final in second place. So look, they have a bit to find. Like there's no doubt about it. But look, no different than the under-20s. They get another go at Clare, the Clare team that handed them their only loss. So look, it's. Yeah, no, like it was a difficult game, just the way Limerick set up, and it'll be interesting to see whether Shane Dowling gets a second year, because like they lost 4 games, but like their scoring totals are very, very poor. Like relying an awful lot on frees for their scores. Like, and you can see they're trying to play the same way as their seniors, but they're just not, either they don't have the talent to do it, or they just need more and more time to try and get used to what they want to do. And I suppose that can be difficult at underage level, like so. But look, no, to be in a Munster final is in a great spot to be in. It guarantees them a minimum in All-Ireland quarter final as well. But I think they've definitely got to step it up a small bit. And I was saying in my piece that in the paper that I just love to see our half back line being a small bit more aggressive under the dropping ball. I just think they're not taking command of things in there. Like, I think they can bring a bit more aggression and physicality under the dropping ball. And then, because if you can get the platform there, now we saw it from the first night against Cork, where we're a small bit porous, like when we got beaten. I think our halfbacks they're a small bit timid. I just love to see them open their shoulders and say, look, no, we're the best in our position. We're going to be strong here, make sure we don't break through, and get the ball up to our forwards. And look, the forwards didn't really fully click last Wednesday, but look, or last Thursday, but look, they got the result in the end.
Yeah, and from conceding 4 goals to only conceding 12 points, in some measures, that's a positive. A Sully 180 says about Aaron Nyland, I'm not sure. I just saw that he's not in the 24, so we'll assume he is injured. Richard Hogan, Limerick have had a poor enough campaign this year, both minor and under 20, gives everybody a bit of hope. Patrick McMahon, this is a good Clare minor team. Tip won't be far off, though. Shameful from the GA and not have this on of a Monday evening. I suppose, Shane, we'll finish up then with the Tipperary footballers. You know, gave a fair old go of it after 5 weeks off against Antrim, but just came up short for a finish.
Yeah, I know. I was in Belfast on Sunday for the game. Yeah, no, it was a very, very enjoyable game. Now, it was lovely conditions up there. Both teams played open attacking football. I suppose the key difference was, like, I thought, and it's been a lot through our games this year, teams find it very, very easy to get through us. Like, we're not defensively very, very solid, like so, and you could do a bit more physicality there. But like Antrim were very, very good in terms of getting the ball up the field, and it was the closest thing, you know, the back in the 70s, the Dutch thing of total football. Like, this was nearly total Gaelic football. It didn't matter whether you were 2, 3, or 4. If you got a chance to go up the field to make something happen, you were given license. And their number 3 and number 4 got the goals in the first half, just making late runs off the shoulder, coming in from deep. And look, Tip found it difficult to stop them. And the Tip had their own chances too. Like, the first Antrim goal came off, and the Antrim goalie was caught upfield. Tip turned over the Antrim player. We had nearly a 3-on-1. There's the only Antrim defender on the line, and Conor Sweeney from about 6 years managed to hit the post as he was trying to place it beside. They went down and got a goal straight away. Like, I said, oh, this is going to be a day coming now. And the second goal, Ewan Walsh shot, saved brilliantly by Comerford, rebounded back off Walsh and over Comerford and into like 2 goals. Like, you say, it's not going to be our day. But in fairness, like, Tip responded every time. Got it back to 3 points towards the end. Could have got a bit closer. Look, Antrim were fully deserved a win, but just in terms of the performance was a lot better than against Waterford. I thought their mentality was good. It showed that they're a united team. It showed that they were playing for the management as well. There was actually very, very few defections after the Waterford game. You always fear maybe some lads might pull away, maybe go to Australia, America and stuff, but no, they're very, very united. Look, there's no doubt they're a flawed team at the moment. They're just a bit too open at the back, but look, you can't say they're not giving everything for the shirt at the moment. Like, they just need more time to develop as a unit. It's a big ask actually at home next Saturday against Sligo. Like, Sligo, I think, are one of the teams that could go and win this Tailteann Cup out. But look, if Tip can find some way to be a bit defensively more solid, I think we have the firepower to score enough going the other way.
Where's the Wexford game on, actually?
Hasn't been fixed yet. It'll be on the June bank holiday weekend. So I'd say, like you say, Nolan Park or Walsh Park would probably be the likely venues. It depends on what other games are fixed for that weekend. Whether, like, remember last year, Tip and Waterford was on with Cork and Kerry. I'm not sure whether there'll be any other games maybe in that region that could be put in as a double header. So I think that weekend is the second round of the football, but there's no real teams down there. So it all depends. There could be, I'd say probably Nolan Park. I'd say they'll probably try and put in a double header maybe, because you have the likes of Kildare, Laois, Carlow, they're all in that region, whether they'll be having to play matches around there too as well.
Yeah, lads, what would you think about starting John McGrath if Noel McGrath? A little bit of a typo there, I think, Owen, but basically John McGrath for taking freeze. Like, Noel was taking him 2 years ago, so you could easily put Noel on the freeze anyway.
Yeah. Cool. I think they'll hold John. I just think I unless John has been tearing it up in training the last 2 weeks, and you say we have no choice but to play him, but I say we know Noel can go on the freeze as well. I'd be just thinking, if Ford and Garrod were your top two free takers all along, why would you bypass Garrod if you were going to take them off Jason on Saturday and Sunday? So I would have thought they'll Jason, if there's an easy one to start with, I would have thought Jason gets it just to get him started. But if it's a difficult one, I'd nearly leave it to Garrod. That's assuming Jason starts. It's that when the team announcement comes on Friday morning, I assume it could probably be then. You know, the way they come at lunchtime now, the whole ones, and it'll be an interesting team. I don't foresee too many changes. I think you're the same.
And then a final thing, I know you're getting the curly finger there, but the GAAGo issue, it's continued to rumble on. You can see politicians getting involved now. I actually think politicians should be winding their neck in here. They have an awful lot more trouble that they're causing at the moment, and not to be looking for the open goal. Like, they're looking for an open goal of attacking RT. How about sort out the stuff that you're doing that's causing a hames of things at the moment, and leave the GAAGo stuff to people who are actually...
like, it's just, there's an election coming up now, and I go to a door and somebody says GAAGo, I'll sort that. No problem, I'm on your side and should have no more power to change anything. But look, it'll be interesting to see if at the end of this year's championship, whether there's a review. And I thought Jarlath Byrne's interview with Claire Byrne was refreshingly honest. Like a lot of people deriding him for saying that it was a commercial thing. At least he came out and said it. There was no flapping about, this is not like, and he made the point, and as well, like, the GA do not accept alcohol or gambling sponsorship. So, like, they've cut themselves off there from funding. So, which means they have to sort of be self-sufficient, and maybe in one way they have to be self-sufficient is their own streaming platform. There's no doubt. I think they've messed up by not having. There should be minimum 3 championship games a weekend at this stage of the year. Like, we know there'll probably be 4 as the year goes on, but like, there should be 1 live game on a Saturday, 2 of a Sunday. And I think that would solve a lot of it. That you're not expecting the big game, all games, but like, when you're asking for Cork and stuff to Cork and Limerick and Cork and Clare behind the way while you're asking for trouble. And maybe I don't think the GAA can survive the collateral damage if they take a repeat of this next year.
Your baby's giving out there, Shane. We might call a halt to it there. So, yeah, that's it for the show. We'll be back again next week, and hopefully Tipperary have won anyway. Okay, thanks very much, Shane.
Bye. Now I'm done.